I know that the Native Hawaiian community raised me, and that today my role is to give back to that community and take what I learned from that community and take it into my future and make a difference in that way.
When you go back to Hawaii, you feel like this place of belonging, but then like you don't belong, but you belong because that's where you're from. That's where your family comes from. But at the same time, you feel like the people there look at you in a different way because that's where you're from, but not where you stay.
The conversation of implementing like cultural programs into school wasn't happening. Their argument was that culture and science couldn't exist together. Our people was doing the lokoi'a, the ahupua'a system. We need a movement of water and the aina way before science was invented. Aloha mai kākou, and welcome to episode 3 of KOKO podcast here at Ka'ahalahui Ole Kona Hawaiian Civic Club, right in our Aloha Resource and Community Center. We want to mahalo all of you folks who joined us for episode 1 and episode 2, where we talked about culturally sensitive subjects here living in the diaspora. One of the greatest things about KALOʻs is that the foundation and who we are today and the work that we do truly has been led by our future, our next generation, the leaders of tomorrow, our youth. And so we're very fortunate today to have some of our ʻŌpio who have been with us since the very beginning of time, through all the things that we've done, through Hālau, through our Hawaiian Civic Club, through community advocacy, through so many different things, who have really elevated who we are as KALOʻs. And so we're here today with Kamalani and Sophia, who I'm trying not to cry because, as I was talking about them, they were very little when they started, and now Sophia is going to be a senior, and Kamalani is going to be a junior. I should know these things, so I'm not going to cry. So I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Sophia, and then we can jump over to Kamalani.
Aloha, my name is Sophia Sakaino, and I'm a rising senior at Southridge High School, which is in the Beaverton School District. I've been a hula olapa for around 11 years now, and I'm also the office assistant here at KALOʻs.
Aloha, my name is Kamalani Kaʻula. I'm a junior at Aloha High School in the Beaverton School District. A couple of things I do, I dance hula. I've been dancing hula since I was 5.
Bebe.
A little boy. Now I'm teenager. But I also do boxing at Sunset Boxing Church. And I like to watch basketball and football.
Mahalo for being with us today here at KOKO Podcast. We're always excited. This is very new here at KALOʻs, but this has been a definite need in our community. And, just to give our community context to how KOKO Podcast started, over COVID, Sophia was actually part of our youth group, which is Mahalo Youth Council. But originally they were called Nakamani Talk Story. And through their efforts over COVID, they were able to, I think we hosted over 20 episodes of the youth leading the conversations. They met with chief medical officers of the Oregon Health Authority. They met with educators, with elected officials, and they really just brought to light the important issues that are being shared within the community, within the youth, and giving them a platform, and for us to hear from the youth about what their mana'o is. And so I think something that us adults often forget is that their voice has meaning, their mana'o has meaning, and they're part of the conversation. And so this space and Nakamani Talk Story and KOKO is really to shed light on the need for them to be part of the conversations. I think very importantly is inviting youth to the table and making sure that they're part of planning, they're part of building, they're part of elevating the need, because 20 years from now, the generation who is growing up, they will be the ones leading this work. And so our kuleana as the adults or as the mentors or as the leaders of today is to be able to bring to life that iini, that desire within them to be the leaders of tomorrow. So I think one of the things I'm very proud of to be with it, to be in space with these two, is something that has always surrounded you folks has been culture and being raised in a culturally specific way, a culturally specific space, not just in Hālau, but in your home, within your family, like having the values of Hawaii surround you. So kind of share with us what that meant to you folks, like being a young leader or coming into a space trying to lead, but being grounded in who you are as with in a background as culture.
To me, what culturally grounded means, or to be culturally grounded, I think to know where you come from, or like really go into that, like knowing who you are and where you come from and what you do in just everyday life, you know, going to school, knowing that you're Hawaiian and being proud of that, or just being a part of like the community center here at KALOʻs, or being a part of Hālau and being proud of that you're part of that, and be able to learn stuff every day and become a better person throughout those different spaces.
Growing up in a culturally specific environment has really equipped me with really strong core values of everything from like kuleana and ha'aha'a, really strong bond with your ohana and your like chosen ohana, your community, and like Kamalani said, just taking that into every space that you go into, whether that's school and treating everyone with aloha and respect, or just like, you know, your everyday work.
Growing up here on the continent, obviously a little bit different. How I grew up versus how you folks grew up, maybe how your parents grew up, is very different, right? And trying to navigate this ecosystem here is so much different. What was it like for you folks to grow up here in a very, for lack of better words, a very white dominant place?
It was hard to find belonging, definitely. Especially like feeling like you don't look like anybody, or that nobody can understand what your family is like. Like, I come from a really like multicultural, multiracial background, and so I felt like, oh, nobody's my four my four like ethnicities. But I think like Hālau was my first place where I felt like I really belonged, and that's because I realized that like culture is something that really connects people. And just thinking about how like when my parents first moved here, like 20 something years ago, where they first found belonging was with their Hawaii friends who also moved. But yeah, culture just connects us, brings us together. It's Hālau, hula. It's brought me closest to my closest friends, my hula sisters. Something that we all share is that is Hawaii, and our families being from Hawaii. And so yeah, that's where I feel like I belong most.
I feel like for me, living here in Oregon versus in Hawaii, it's like when you go back to Hawaii, you feel like this place of belonging, but then like you don't belong, but you belong because that's where you're from. That's where your family comes from. But at the same time, you feel like the people there look at you in a different way because that's you, but not you, because that's where you're from, but not where you stay or where your heart really lays. So when you go back and you have to go back to Oregon, it's like, oh, that's my people, but is it my people? Because you know, you have to face the fact that like you're not living day to day in Hawaiian space, so that doesn't qualify you as a Hawaiian person sometimes. But living here in Oregon, that's like that I am Hawaiian, that is me. So then you gotta face like I'm Hawaiian, but in a different space, not Hawaiian enough sometimes. But you know, in here in Hālau and being in this community center, that's what brings everybody together. Like that's where you're from, that's what you identify as, that's you. So in here, everybody just thinks, yeah, that's what we are, that's where we come from.
Yeah, I agree, because it's like outside of Hālau, outside of, these people, I feel like I have to explain myself so much. I have to explain my, like, genealogy basically to everybody I meet. But at Hālau and here, like, you're accepted.
You are who you are.
Yeah.
But in school, it's like, oh, you are Hawaiian, but are you Hawaiian? You know? Like, sometimes in Hālau, in this community center, you're just who you are. Not have to explain yourself or, like, where you come from in school. You're just who you are. And everybody accepts that.
Mm-hmm.
So navigating living here on the continent or just living in Oregon is already hard culturally because you're trying to find space. And so it's something to hear you folks have found space in Hālau, have found space here in Kālo. Now, share with us the challenges or the struggles it was to get to finding the places, or what it was like in the beginning. Like, one of the things that you folks carry is that you folks are part of the start of Hālau. You folks are part of the start of Kālo and the community center and Kamali'i Takastari, Mohala Youth Council, Hāloa, all of those programs. Like, what was it like for you folks to be able to, one, see it come to life, and then two, be a part of navigating and giving us, your manao on how to provide these kinds of spaces?
I feel like for me, being a really young person in this beginning or new form of life, I feel like for me it was very, like, breathtaking. Like, when I was, like, 6 years old, I had a lot of people to look up to, my aunties, my uncles, my grandmother, my brothers and sisters, and I feel like it was really experiencing, like Sophia, Chloe, name of them. Like, every day I learned something new, especially Chloe. She's always like a little older sister to me. I went to school with her. I feel like every day you just learn something new. When you're really young, you're really built into, like, your own person, because you have all these people teaching you things, and you don't really, sometimes you take it for granted. Like, I definitely took it for granted going to school with Chloe, not really, like, noticing her every day. But, like, when you grow up, you realize you've had so much people, and you don't take it for granted. You don't, like, really harness that, or, like, realize that all these people are here to help you. But when you get older, you feel like, like Sophia, she's helped me through some stuff, especially, like, learning things. You always have these, like, little people helping you guide along the way. I feel like Hālau and the community center helps you along, really put you in that path that you're going down the right way.
Everything that Kamalani said, I think being a part of this space gave us so many leaders that we could so openly talk to. Like, there's not somebody who can just, like, really personally tell us, like this is what's important. Just tell you super explicitly, like Chloe would always, like,
Tell you up front.
Yeah, she would tell you up front. And when the other ʻŌpio left for college, it was definitely
how much they help you out, or how much you've learned from them, what they said for you.
Mm-hmm. Whether it was like how do I do this email, or like real stuff about, like, relationships and growing up. That community is so unique to the Kālo community and the Hawaiian community. And so, yeah, it's been a privilege to be a part of that and Definitely. To grow from that and learn from everybody here. As far as, like, challenges, a challenge that I've had to face navigating my identity has definitely been not having KOKO. And still being involved really heavily with the Native Hawaiian community. I think in the past, I've always really doubted myself. Like, am I allowed to be here? Am I allowed to do this? Can I say this? How does this come across? And all of that came from a really, like, insecure kind of spot that, I wasn't confident in my identity at all. But because of those people that we're talking about, I feel like I'm able to finally be at peace with myself. I'm obviously still navigating that every day. I'm trying to be the most respectful person I can be. But at the same time, I know who I am. I know that the Native Hawaiian community raised me, and that today my role is to give back to that community and take what I learned from that community and take it into my future and make a difference in that way.
So we just talked about challenges. We just talked about what it means to belong, what it means to have this community. And so for you folks, what did it mean to have Hāloa, or Hāloa camp? What did it mean to be able to see other youth outside of the community that you folks have built be a part of what we're doing?
At first, for me, when it started, I was like, I think 8, around that age. I didn't have like too many friends, but I feel like at first it was comforting to find more people, that like connect with me, or like, we're both Hawaiian, or we're both like a part of this Hawaiian community together. So I feel like at first it was like a good transition of being a kid to like learning more and turning that like fun place into like a learning experience. And as I got older, I realized that like we need more of this for younger, and I wish I learned that when I was younger. I feel like I needed to be a part of that more, and now I realize that like we need these kids to be a part of this because they need to know who they come from and who they are and why that's so important. And I feel like I wish I knew that a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So going off of that, so as ʻŌpio now, who have gone through Hāloa, who have been able to be a part of that, what does it mean? How important is it for you to continue to be a part of Hāloa?
Well, yeah, like when we were 8 years old, Hāloa has changed a lot since then. Like with like resources.
Where we were.
Yeah, like
share those stories with us.
The one toilet, everybody used that one big sink. Sorry, I thought that was the one thing I had.
The toilet's the first thing you told me.
That was the one thing. That was like, waited like 30 minutes to use that bathroom.
I was gonna talk about how like
My bad.
there was only like one Hāloa group. Like there was one class.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are on a lot of different learning levels and everything. Like I was in Hāloa with my brother, and he's 2 years older than me, and they were older people, definitely. And so, but I think what we learned there and the community that we built there, it's not the same with the Hāloa we have now. And so by continuing to be involved with Hāloa, we can take what we learned and the friendships we built at Hāloa like 10 years ago or something, and help make them the same experience for these keiki. Because yeah, it was good. It was a really good, fun experience, and I'd want more keiki to experience that too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Back to like that first question you asked, Kamalani, it was like something that, like in hula, we learn a lot about aina. We dance about aina all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like that first year in Hāloa, and after that, I learned so much about malama aina and the importance of aina to indigenous people like all around the world.
Thank you, Auntie Louise.
Yeah, thank you. And mahalo to all my kumu.
Mm-hmm.
They were amazing. I remember like Auntie Steffi.
Mm-hmm.
She taught us. It was like I don't know how old we were, but she taught us the term biodiversity, but she taught it through the ahupua'a system.
Yeah.
And so that was my first time, like my first introduction to biodiversity, but I didn't really even know I was learning about biodiversity. or any of these scientific terms that are only now coming up in my biology classes. Like just those like lessons, and like I said, like I'm still using those lessons today, as I'm able to like, when I hear about the different like climate disasters and environmental issues in the world, I'm able to see it all through like a cultural lens, and I'm able to see like, you know, yeah, these climate issues are happening, but they're also interconnected with the people. And so I think that kind of gives us a little bit of an advantage because we have this like sense of empathy that like, you know, like the health of the environment like directly impacts the health of the people. And a lot of times in policy and everything like that, that's kind of missed.
100%. You know, I think, I don't know if we've ever shared this with you folks, but Hāloa came about because of that. Sitting in the Beaverton School District, it was at one of the school programs, and the conversation of implementing like cultural programs into school wasn't happening. Their argument was that culture and science couldn't exist together. And it, for me as a cultural practitioner, that was funny for me because I was like, what are you talking about? Culture is science. Our people was doing the lokoi'a, the ahupua'a system. We need a movement of water and the aina way before science was invented. And so that was the whole point of Hāloa, was to be able to equip you folks with the tools and resources to be grounded in culture, to know that culture is science. And when the people are healthy, the land is healthy. When the land is healthy, the people are healthy. And that goes with the olano'ea that you folks learn, right? He ali'i ka aina he kawa ki kanaka. So, beautiful.
Do you remember we had like, we had a TMT debate. Like
oh, yeah, that was Auntie Steph, yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Auntie Steffi.
That was a big debate.
She pushed us to do things like, because again, like we were all one group. And so like.
We're all different ages, so I realized now that was like a big.
Yeah.
The best was when there was one side that had to be pro TMT.
Yeah.
And you guys had to come up with the whole, like, what was, like, to be pro TMT. That argument, oh man, what was her name? She goes to Pacific now. I think she's going into her senior year. She was the pro TMT. And she actually, not that we supported it, but she had a very good argument. And it was, we were like, huh. So you guys were young.
She had us write a CER. You know those?
Yeah, claim evidence reasoning.
Yeah. And I was like, not even in middle school
I didn't even know what that was. And I was like, damn, guess we're doing this.
But we were writing it because we had to. But like, that or like the debate, like, oh my, and there was like no prep.
There was.
No.
It's like
you guys only had 4 days.
Or just like speak from your na'auka, and I was like, oh my god.
I didn't even know what I was speaking about half the time, but I was doing it, and now I realized that was like a big point in life now.
Yeah.
That's
that you don't realize.
Just like you guys have had to do projects and presentations since you were 9-10 years old. That's what we do today at conferences and conventions and, you know, Nicole and I mean, they're just putting out the research report. You guys, that's what you guys are doing, because I think that's what's missing in the school systems, is that, and here are the youth telling you guys it's missing, is that when you implement these kinds of programs and you challenge them, we challenge youth, it makes you stronger.
And we saw like seeing my older brother do it all. I was like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. So stuff like that.
What is it like now though to see the keiki doing it now?
Giving them the little tools so that they can better themselves, better educate themselves, like we did. And I feel like that's what needs to be done, and it's what is being done.
Yeah, full circle moment.
Yeah, beautiful. So these days there's this concept that keeps rolling around throughout the continent. This new idea. It's not new, it's been happening, but the word diaspora. Living in the diaspora, that you are part of the diaspora now. The diaspora really, you know, it's living away from your homeland. But what does diaspora mean to you? How does that diaspora also impact your identity?
When I think about diaspora, I think about like the importance of knowing your kulaiwi and of every day doing something that connects you to your kulaiwi. Whether that's, you know, like just food, eating with your family, culturally specific food, like speaking your native language, It doesn't have to be the language. It can be like pidgin or something that, it's something you do at home. Like hula, staying connected with your like relatives and everything like that. I just think about the importance of that and knowing where you come from, even when you're not in that place.
Like how important, right? Like you just like being able to have your kulaivi in the diaspora, right? Being able to have a sense of place, right? And that's built individually. You as Sophia, you as Kamalani had to individually find a way to build that. Find a way to, you and your family, right, had to find a way to create that bubble per se in this ecosystem, in this environment that doesn't elevate and doesn't support communities who are living in the diaspora. Like, what would it look like? Like, how important would that be to you if our systems did support it?
I think it would look more like learning in Hāloa. Like, there was so much success in Hāloa, so much like actual learning that we did because we felt capable to do so. And so I think creating like culturally specific environments that encourage keiki to like celebrate their culture in what they're doing encourages them to do better.
So creating spaces like Hāloa that have culturally specific curriculum, culture specific learning, bringing that into space, and also led by maybe educators who have culturally specific background as well, probably impacted that. What are the challenges you see it in school? Like, what are the things, what are the system changes that the school could specifically make to be able to bring programs like Hāloa into it? Like, the need for culturally specific, culturally minded, people with cultural backgrounds to teach, right? Like, for example, if we brought up Aloha High School's mascot, mahalo that it's been changed, but like, if we brought up the mascot, right, and we talk about Kamehameha, but we talk about the school's use of it. Like, imagine if you had culturally specific people in your school that taught the way that we teach in Hāloa. What would that look like? Like, how would that change the environment in the school?
I feel like being a student at Aloha High School, that gives you more, if we had people, more educators telling students and teachers and staff what that really meant to us Hawaiian people or just Polynesians in general, who he was, and to put him in that place of a mascot like that and not be well educated or well like put on. I don't think that if that was more educated, if that was more shined upon, if there was more respect, I guess, to who he is or who he was, I feel like a lot of people would be more educated. They would know what they're doing and how that affects us.
Yeah, your teachers have so much of an influence on you, and so I wouldn't even say they have to be Native Hawaiian teachers, Polynesian teachers, or like people of color in general. They just have to have empathy. Like, a lot of teachers, they think like, this doesn't involve me, like, and they don't really take the time to learn more or think about how it impacts their students. And I think that's where the gap is. It's like, that gap is a disconnect with your students. And that's like a gap in respect, in like actual learning and other things like that.
Pilina, connection, the building of community. You folks talked about like the relationship you have with your hula brother and sisters, that friendship that's been created, right? And I think it leans into that sense of respect with each other. Are there challenges you folks see trying to build friendships outside of, that community that you've built? Like, what is it like to, create friendships outside of who you've grown up with, who you feel a sense of belonging with?
I feel like in order to do that, like bring that same kind of respect and like knowledge that you have here to us, like a space like school or like a workspace. I feel like everybody together has to have that same sort of like respect and like willingness to learn and to put yourself in like somebody else's shoes, or really, yeah, like Sophia's been saying, like empathy for somebody or learn what they have to say. And I feel like everybody's got to do that in order to make a space where we can all connect together as one.
So, fostering this pilina, fostering connections, comes with empathy, comes with being willing to learn and having that understanding of where people come from. So, one of the big things that we do here in Kalo or in Hālau or, it's a constant, people always say, oh, you're just teaching hula. No, it's never about teaching hula. It's about teaching community leaders. It's about fostering the next generation. It is never about hula. It's about so much more, right? So for you folks, with the up and coming generation, right? What kind of advice do you have for them? Your next generation. You guys have to understand, like, you folks are our next generation, but you already have a next generation. There is another hanauna that's after you folks already.
I feel like I don't think the 6-year-olds are gonna understand what my answer, but I feel like
Sienna Rosewood, Kamalani.
But I feel like my answer would be more to like 8 to like 13-year-olds, really leaning into the people that you have, using those older resources. Like for me, when I was younger, I feel like I should have used Chloe and Mema and Lenny them and Sophia all to like my advantage, or really use your aunties and uncles and realize that you have them, and whatever you need, they're there to help you, and really use those tools along the way. And don't forget that they're there, and really use that to your advantage.
I agree with everything Kamalani said about, this community. We have a super strong support network, and to use that to our advantage. But my advice is, like, in terms of how I've experienced finding belonging and my identity as an ʻŌpio, would be definitely to find your passion, like that thing that fulfills you, and to the point where you could do it forever and it makes you feel like your best person. In Hālau, I found that with hula. And when I started volunteering a lot after like the pandemic, like 2021, I started volunteering a lot, and I also felt that same feeling of fulfillment. And so like today, I've really found my place, the combination of both, being able to like serve my community, and especially like serving the community that raised me, and being able to give back. Just find your passion and fulfillment.
The community that raised you, I think, is such a beautiful. It should be a new shirt and a new sticker. The community that raised you, because too often, I think we speak about KOKO, and I think the Hawaiian community the Native Hawaiian community navigates for the Kanaka. They navigate what Kamalani was saying earlier, right? When he goes home, he feels like he's home, but like he's not home enough. Like he's not enough to be there. And then when he's here, he is Hawaiian, and it doesn't mean that you need to be justified on where being Hawaiian, right? So we have that, so many of our Hawaiians navigate not being Hawaiian enough. But I think the conversations that we miss are the conversations about our po'e Hawaii, our people of Hawaii, right? The people who come from Hawaii. And I think we forget that. And I love that you say that, the community that raised you. And that, period, is what makes it enough. The community that raised you is such a beautiful thing. And I think ʻŌpio need to hear that. Because, as you know, the challenges that your hula sisters have to go through when they've gone to school, You guys were raised in such a beautiful Hawaiian culture. You folks know who you are. You know who you represent. You know where you belong, and then you go into a space and you're not felt like you're made to feel like you're not enough, or you're made to feel like, oh well, I'm not Hawaiian, but I'm from Hawaii, and then there's a separation. There's this divide. There's a divide between Hawaiians who grew up on the continent versus Hawaiians that live in Hawaii. Or there's a divide between Hawaiians that live on the continent and Poe Hawaii, people from Hawaii who aren't Hawaiian, who were raised in Hawaii, who make Hawaiians here feel less than. Right? And so the reality is, it's not about that. It's about the community. It's about the community that raises us. And so I think you guys, from an ʻŌpio's lens, or just from your mana'o, and you sharing that, I think a lot of ʻŌpio need to hear that, because that's a challenge. That's even a challenge for adults, is to know that you're enough no matter what community, no matter where you are, right? So the community that raised you, Jaden, yeah, well, copyright Sophia Sakaino, please. All royalties go to Sophia. No, just kidding. But
we don't make royalties.
Yeah, I know. We have no royalties
negative
here.
dollars.
Just royalty. Just royalty. No, and mahalo for bringing that up, because the diaspora, people in the diaspora, I call it displaced. People are displaced, right? Our communities are displaced, and then here they're so displaced. But I think our non-KOKO people of our community need to hear those words. And the people who are KOKO need to hear that. This is the community, the village raises us. And so if we work together and not have to be felt like, am I enough to go home to the place I call home? Am I enough to be here? Am I Hawaiian enough to be in space with people from home? Am I Hawaiian enough to be part of a community that raised me? This is the culture, the values, the nationality of where I come from, right? It's Hawaii. Like, am I enough? And so I think our ʻŌpio need to hear those words. So I love that you shared all of that. Now, the big question. What is your advice to the adults, to the people who continue to come to the table and speak for our youth? If you could advise them and give them mana'o on how we can better kāko'o our youth, what would it be?
We have a really unique mana'o, just because with technology and media, we have access to a lot of information, and I mean, it's kind of on you whether you pick the right information.
Period.
But like, we know a lot from like I said, the media and everything. Like, sometimes I think like we're kept more in the know about global issues and even local issues and stuff happening in our local government. It's like we know about that stuff because of media. And so it's not right to just assume that we don't know, or that we're not like maka'ala of what's going on in the world, when we really do. And yeah, we just do.
Just be there in the way that we do things. Know that we're trying, but still give it that little shove,
Yeah.
Show up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Open space.
And showing up.
Yeah.
To the space. Being present but not taking space. Beautiful. So our Hāloa program is coming up in a couple of weeks. Our first week in July, we're very fortunate. We're going to be working with Hālau Kukala'olama, which is Kamalani schools. Ho'omaka'ikai is coming up to Pacific Northwest. And then we have our following 2 weeks for our Kamali'i, and we have our Poki'i, and then we have our ʻŌpio. What can you tell the families and the keiki and the ʻŌpio why it is so important for them to come and join Hāloa?
I think the most important reason for our keiki to join Hāloa is, while young, find a spot or a place where they can really ground themselves, and in the next 3, 4, 5 years really find themselves as a better person or a better educated person, and really see how they've sprouted like we did, and really come out to a person, a better educated or a better influenced or inspired person?
I would just say that if you don't know what to expect coming into Hāloa, it's nothing like school. Like, I know kind of love-hate relationship with school for us. So it's so much like hands-on learning on like actual practical stuff that it doesn't ever feel like work. You know, you might have a project or something, but it feels like just time you're spending with your friends. And so, like Kamalani said, if you're looking for that community, that place where you can just be and you can practice culture, Hāloa is perfect.
Mahalo, Kamalani and Sophia, for joining us
Mahalo.
at our KOKO podcast here at Kaʻula Hui Ole Kona Hawaiian Civic Club. Hāloa, cultivating the next generation. Our summer camps are happening this July and August. For more information, please visit www.kalohcc.org. Join us for cultural fun, cultural education. Find a place of grounding. Find a safe space to just be who you are. So, ehele mai, join us this summer. And again, mahalo for joining us today at our KOKO podcast.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.